Goodwill and Savers, who's your customer? I'm going to come at this from the reseller's point of view. I'm not spending $249 for an as-is watch at Savers. I have another example I'm going to show you right here. A bar cart that's $499 at Goodwill. I'm not spending that. If you're a reseller, are you spending that kind of money? Are you catering Goodwill to luxury shoppers, to people that can only afford to shop secondhand? Are you cashing in on the secondhand craze lately? I don't understand who your shopper is. Can we talk about it a little bit? Back in the day, thrift stores started out as a place where people could find donated items that were affordable. What has happened since then? I know some of you watching are going to blame resellers. I did a video that I will link in the description below about why I think resellers aren't the problem. You may disagree with me, and that's okay. So, who's the customer? Who does Goodwill and Savers think is coming into their store and buying their items? My first experience with reselling was with a friend in my 20s. I worked in a law firm in downtown Minneapolis, and my friend Linda would come in every day to work and always looked so cute. And one day she said to me, we always used to chit chat. And one day when we were talking clothing, she told me that she shopped at a consignment store. No idea what that was. She invited me to come along with her. For those of you that are from the Twin Cities, it was near the 50th and France area. She invited me to come along with her, and she showed me that the main floor was the real prices. But if you go down in the basement, that's where the bargains were. She and I walked out that day for $25 with armfuls of work clothes. I couldn't believe it. There were brand name things for $4. I bought so many things and spent $25. What has happened since then? Who goes in now and spends $99, $69? Shoes are priced outrageously, and I think everybody has lost their mind. I am not going into the store and paying those kind of prices. As a reseller, I am not going to do that. I'm not an economist. I don't know much about finance, but my thought is if you're getting your items for free, how about you lower the prices and sell more of them? I don't know, that makes sense to me. Lower the prices, and you can sell to me as a reseller. You can sell to someone who just prefers to shop secondhand, or you can sell to someone who cannot afford any other way of shopping. That's one option. Number two, there's catering to the boutique shoppers, the ones that think it's cool and trendy to wear designer items or maybe vintage items. I'm not certain you couldn't maybe go into a different store on clearance at a retail store or a little consignment boutique that might make more sense. They bring in better quality items. They check their comps in terms of what's reasonable. Just because the tag says a certain brand doesn't mean that that item is worth that amount of money. The pricers in the back are not educated on what all of this clothing is literally worth. So you know what? It ends up in the Goodwill bins, and there is so much inventory there. The third option is for your everyday shopper. You have priced your everyday shopper out. They cannot afford to shop there because somehow along the way you think that it's meant to be so high priced. Do you think we're all going to go on to your online stores? We're not doing that. So now you have an online presence. I don't believe any of the people that I've just mentioned, any of those scenarios. Everyday shopper, the collector and reseller, or your boutique shopper, I don't believe is going to goodwill.com to find their items. So, what do all of us do with the madness that has been created? What's the answer? What are we supposed to do about all that? I found for my reselling business that the answer to that is shopping at church rummage sales and shopping at the Goodwill bins. I would actually prefer to give my money to the church rummage sale. I've been going an awful lot. I go almost every weekend now because in Minnesota it's not going to be like this in the winter months. They don't host them. So that's my answer as a reseller. That's where I prefer to find my inventory. There's estate sales, there's flea markets, there's online Facebook marketplace free swaps. That is how I believe we combat this. Is none of us go to these stores. None of us, I don't even like to donate to the Goodwill anymore. I love, there's a store called Able Light in Minnetonka. It's a faith-based store. I just like the store layout. I like the workers. I like their mission. That's where I prefer to bring my donations, which if I find something at these church rummage sales that just doesn't end up, I do a lot of, most often, fill a bag sales. If it doesn't end up being something that I find that I can resell or I can use in our own home, I donate back. So that's another way that these items are bringing value is up to me, is I'll donate them back to a particular church-based thrift store, and I feel good about the money going back into that avenue. I think one thing you could do is build relationships with local shops that you do like, local stores that are more community based, build a relationship with them. I have found certain niches inside of Goodwill that they miss. I don't want to talk about that here. I don't think anybody from Goodwill would ever be watching my channel, but I have found there are certain things that they miss. It shouldn't really have to be like that. I mean, even the books are like $3 for a hardcover. I go to our library sales and I have found wonderful books. They have fill a bag sales. I'd rather give back to the community library if you're a book reseller. So that is how I combat the rising prices. I just, again, not an economist. How about if we just lower the prices for everybody? And in that regard, we will all be ahead of the game. The Goodwills will sell more inventory. Resellers will sell more inventory and have more money to spend back in your stores. And people that prefer to shop that way will have more inventory there at a price they can afford. To me, that's a win-win. It's almost like the gentrification of thrift stores, where everything now around what used to be affordable and accessible has become not affordable or even close to what resellers are willing to spend on an item. So it's almost like gentrification, like you're pushing everybody away. Who is left? I would just be so fascinated if anybody who watches works at a Goodwill or a Savers. I'd be so fascinated to know what the thinking is in the back room and the pricers. I know you're told to do that, but what happens to all of that inventory because nobody is paying that price to walk into a Goodwill that is not a very usually pleasant shopping experience. I think if you're going to spend that kind of money, you want a little bit different feel when you're in the store. So I'll circle back again and ask the question, who is shopping at Goodwill and Savers? Who are their customers? Is that good business sense that they are making, having prices be so high? And I'm wondering from your point of view, what's the answer? You won't hurt my feelings if you think I don't belong in the thrift stores. You can tell me that. I'm okay with that. Who is their customer? That's what I want to know.